this little thing did you build that?
Yes.
Too cool.
That's external battery. Because there is no plug-in out here.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So, in other words, you don't want me to go to the back camera and then, like, totally photobomb your stuff?
Well, it might be fine, but you would be on the stream that the Ada County Republican Center Committee is streaming.
Oh, you're running this live?
Yeah. They might even be hearing our conversation right now.
Well, thanks for
Well, you just started talking. What did you think go live meant?
Well, I thought you were just setting up. Hey, I'm going to get a
Default photos.
How are you guys today?
Fine,
Where are you guys staying at? Red Lion? Okay. Everybody seems to be staying there. I probably
Since I know my family
I'm
is going to be here,
but I got a really
I can just reserve this
I
seat
went
for
where
all
the
that stuff.
room was. Oh, were you? Oh, to get like the geo. Yeah, they were all sold out. Dang. Well, I'm glad I didn't try then, because that was probably where my disappointment would have been. And I would have been fine with being at the
Yeah, we've been there. They have really good breakfast.
Yeah, the breakfast is good. That's what I would have to say. Oh, good. How are you? Yeah? One more day.
Another Thursday.
Yeah, that's
Hey! How are you? I feel like there's a different character.
What's that?
Yeah, that's what's good. I know.
You go to the bathroom. It's a long one. I usually use that to race here too. Usually go to the bathroom.
You seen Tyler this morning?
I know we had a hard time
Where's the bathroom?
wandering around. We had it this gym chat. I don't know what it yeah, like with coffee in the morning and I don't know, ambient at night.
Matthew, do you want to get a camera with me?
What?
You want to?
Let down a little bit, but yeah. Congratulations, you're live on the Ada County Republican YouTube feed.
This is the 2018 Republican Convention in Pocatello. The weather is stunning, and I'll tell you what, if you're not here, you're missing out. Take care.
Is that you?
Yes. And since my chairman isn't showing up, I have a whole seat to organize.
Dedicated to it.
Yeah.
So don't say anything you don't want anybody to hear. It's live.
Okay. I usually don't. I try not to.
We're not convening the meeting yet, but if I could get just the attention of your each delegation chair. this morning with a chair is in doubt a lot. That we don't have the time this morning to go through the standing votes like we did yesterday. Each one of those took more than 10 minutes. So we won't have time to do that. So we're gonna, only when the chair is in doubt, we will be polling the delegations, delegation by delegation on written ballot. What that means is that each delegation, when in doubt, and I say we'll need to have a vote, each delegation chair delegation, you'll count 4, and then on a piece of paper that needs to have your delegation on, hopefully we may have some of those printed. It'll say like Ada County, we have 32 for and 20 against or something like that.
Still running.
Then every county and every legislative district will fill out their ballot at the same time, making it very easy for the ushers to just walk down the aisle and gather up all the ballots. So we'll all have that ballot. That vote will be done much faster. We'll bring those up here to the front. We can even continue with some business in some cases, and they'll tally those very quickly so that we'll get them.
10, 9, 8. Please grab your seats.
No. I'm not sure what happens.
All right, we're going to get this meeting started. I will call this second session to order. First, we're going to start with invocation and a pledge of allegiance. And Laura Anderson will be giving the prayer. Oh, Senator Jim Guthrie will be giving the prayer. Where's Jim? Senator Guthrie, and you'll be doing a dance number as well, correct?
Motion to dispense with the dance number.
No dance number, but please pray with me. Our Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful for the opportunity we have together here this morning for the second general session at the Idaho GOP Convention. We ask that we might address the issues before us in a manner that would be pleasing unto Thee, and pray that we might be deliberate in our efforts, respectful in our debate, and thoughtful in our decisions. We're grateful for this country we have, the freedoms and the opportunities that we have, and with that, would ask a special blessing for our servicemen and women who have, are serving now, and will continue to serve in the future, to sacrifice, some by giving everything to protect our freedoms. And please just grant us the humility to be vigilant stewards of these hard-fought liberties. We're grateful for the volunteers that have worked so hard to make this conference a success, and those who work so hard to make our party a success. We recognize Thy hand in all things, and offer these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim. Next up for the Pledge of Allegiance, Laura Anderson. Please rise.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Laura. Please remain standing. Next, and it is my honor to introduce and announce that Kelly Packer and Dusty Ray Packer will be singing the national anthem. And prior to getting to that, just a quick note, kind of special being in Dan County that Senator Jim Guthrie, who when I was executive director, I remember we helped recruit and get into office, and the same thing with Representative Kelly Packer, who Kelly's last name is very similar to my wife's last name. So hopefully this isn't too much information, but a handful of mistakes of me texting saying, "Hey babe, I'm on my way home." Because Kelly was county chair of Banning County prior to legislature. And yeah, so love you babe, I'll see you soon. And Kelly said, I think this is meant for the other Kelly. Sorry, again. So, and also happy belated birthday to
Yay!
Kelly.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts
All right, next up, we will do roll this new session of the general session. Marla.
Oh, that looks like a really good idea.
Yeah.
We'll do this the same as yesterday.
810
Ada County,
0734.
No. You're,
Ada County, how many delegates?
you're near the end.
Okay. Adams. Bannock. 17. Bear Lake.
5.
Benoit. Bingham. Blaine. Boise. Bonner. Bonneville.
Thanks, Mark.
Boundary. Butte. Camas. Canyon. Caribou. Kasha. Clark. Clearwater. Custer. Elmore. Franklin. Fremont. Jim. Gooding. Idaho. Jefferson. Jerome. Kootenai. Leta. Lewis. Lincoln. Madison. Minidoka. Nez Perce. Oneida. Oahe. Payette. Power. Shoshone. Teton. Twin Falls. Valley. Washington. LD districts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm sorry. Something's running in the background. It's kind of hard to hear. 13, 14, 15, 16,
3.
17,
One strong.
18,
1,
20,
3.
21,
2.
22,
2.
23, 24,
3.
25, 26,
2.
27,
3.
28,
2.
29,
3,
30,
1.
31,
3.
32,
3.
33,
3.
34, 35.
3.
Thank you. Oops, sorry, Ada County, yes. What? Oh, okay. Let's go there first, and then I'll talk to you, Ron. And the great County of Ada. 44, thank you.
All right, I will announce that we have a quorum, and let's work hard in Ada County to keep it great state of Ada.
Holy, did he just say that?
And that's in
He just
reference
said
to
great
the Democrats and their, in their mind, diligent efforts, but something we're not taking for granted about Brown County, and let's keep it great, okay? Next up, we have committee reports, starting with the platform committee report. So I will pass off the chairmanship to Vice Chair and former Chairman, Trenton.
Over nothing platform.
Before we get too far, I just wanted to note, I personally think that our new chairman has done an extraordinary job at this, his first convention. Okay. In order of business, we're now to hear the report of the platform committee. Is the chair of the platform committee prepared? We have co-chairs.
The platform committee met yesterday morning. We had a good committee meeting. Took every minute that we were allotted, and maybe 1 minute more. And so we have you have the platform planks before you. Commissioner Steve Brown will be presenting those to you.
Thank you, Senator. You should have a copy of the submitted platform planks in front of you. There are 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 proposed changes, deletions, or additions. And I will just highlight a couple of them. Proposed plank number 4, 2018-4. The addition in line 4 is a new addition in our preamble. We believe human life begins at conception and is protected by the unalienable rights endowed by our Creator, along with the fundamental right to life, and shall not be infringed upon. And then there were some other small changes. I was going to say, in the sentence that begins with "we believe," I don't think that'll help. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the bottom. We believe the most effective, and then the next part of the sentence is stricken. And the addition is responsive government is government closest to the people. While that is not earth-shattering for this crowd, I think it's important to reiterate. The next 4 that we considered, plank number 5, 8, 9, and 12, are just some clerical and grammatical changes. 5, 8, 9, and 12. Number 11 on page 5. This is an addition, subsection 1B to Article 3 under Education. Religious freedom in public schools. We believe that school administrators and officials should not, and the word "to" should not be included in your copied version. So please strike the word "to." We believe that school administrators and officials should not infringe on Idaho school students and staff's First Amendment rights to pray and engage in religious speech individually or in groups on school property without government interference. We believe the legislatorship of discussion of religion in our founding document encourage discussing those documents, including the Bible. Students and district personnel have the right to display religious on school property. Plank number 13, Article 13, under Health and Welfare. This is an added section 2A. Trying to find the There was a question this morning on Plank 4 that an amendment was made that included delegated and enumerated by the United States and Idaho constitutions. There was some confusion of whether that was included or not. After reviewing with the parliamentarian and as well as the official minutes of our committee meeting, the minutes indicate that that failed, and so that is not included in this version that's presented for you today. And so with that, Mr. Vice Chairman, I present our platform plank and move for adoption.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second? Seconded. Okay, thank you very much. The chair has been advised that there were sufficient votes within the platform committee for the filing of a minority report. Is there a minority report to be filed? Okay, would you like to come forward? And the chair will grant you a similar opportunity to describe the minority report. It would be considered a motion.
After consideration from the platform committee yesterday, we found that there were sufficient people that, in looking back at a plank that was formally discharged and failed, we believe personally that it should be included. The plank originally stated that we support enhancing penalties for employers who knowingly hire illegal aliens in the agricultural sector. The problem that was presented was that this unfairly singles out the agricultural sector. So upon further thought, we believe honestly that this should be presented to the body with the ability for adequate discussion, possible amendment, and inclusion into our platform.
Okay, is there a second on the minority report? I see a second. Okay, just to explain, we now have basically two competing committee reports. The report of the majority, the report of the minority. The minority has been proposed as an amendment, and if it is successful, we would then consider the basically the majority report as amended with the minority suggestion to now be the new report that we would then have an opportunity to further discuss, amend, and debate. So, we actually did not get the second on that. Could you please stand and state your name and delegation? First name again? Tiffany. Thank you very much. We need to make sure that the minutes are accurate. So the motion before the body right now is a proposal for adoption of the minority report. Is there any discussion on that motion? Again, by way of housekeeping, yesterday we had ushers who would carry microphones. It became very difficult from the chair's view to recognize. So we're now doing it different. The microphones are in fixed locations, and it will be easy for me to find out who's standing right in front of the microphone, and then the person who's standing behind that person, etc. Okay, the amendment in the minority report should be in front of you. Was the minority report distributed? Okay. We'll need the maker of the motion to restate what the content of the minority report is. Sorry about that.
Bill Blumenauer, Boundary County. The proposed platform plank was 2018-1, and it was to add Section 5 to Article 4. Section 5, we support enhancing penalties for employers who knowingly hire illegal aliens in the agricultural sector.
Okay. Does that answer the delegate's question? Okay. Seeking recognition? Larry?
I'm Larry Oya, Oneida County. I was in the platform committee and I thought it was discussed adequately. And whenever I see the Republican Party enforcing penalties, you know, that just tells me more government, more bigger government. That's coming from a rural county. We don't want more government. Enforcement, it just smacked of not something that I would want to see in the platform. And I have read the platform in its entirety, and I think for the most part it's good. So I would vote against adding the minority report as part of the platform.
Okay. Yes.
Tiffany Clark, there was a lot of discussion, and just to clarify, it does say enhancing penalties. We already have penalties, but we want to make sure that they're enhanced. It doesn't say enforced. That's not our job to talk about enforcement. Part of the discussion was that it limited it to the agriculture section. Therefore, I would like to amend my minority report, moving it to Article 12, Section 3, under the labor section, putting in a subsection D, and striking the in the agriculture sector. So it would just read, we support enhancing penalties for employers who knowingly hire illegal aliens.
Let me check with the parliamentarians just quickly. Can she do that all in one motion? She's moving to a different section and adding.
That was more of a clerical, because it wouldn't fall on, if we amended it, it will not fall under agriculture because it's not limited to agriculture.
So you would actually be basically filing a different minority report. You have to make an amendment that is an amendment to the minority report, because the pending motion is the minority report.
That's what I'm doing. I'm amending the minority report. I'm making a motion to amend it to strike in the agriculture sector.
I understand, but the challenge is that you're doing actually two things. You're moving the minority report to a different section. The minority report is a change to Section 5. As you just stated your motion, your amendment would be to change the amended language and put it in a different section, different from what the minority report would have it done.
So the chair can allow it, but he probably won't.
So just, you could leave it wherever you want it, but let's get rid of the in the agriculture sector.
That's entirely true, but the bulk of politics is really just a null operation.
So let's deal with that portion of it. So the amendment, do I have a second on that amendment? Second. It's been seconded. Any further discussion and debate on the amendment to the minority report? Yes. No, we're dealing with an amendment in the second degree. So we have not yet accepted the minority report, but we are fine-tuning that amendment. Okay, does everybody understand what we're doing? Okay, and so any further discussion over whether the minority report should be amended to remove the language in at the agricultural sector? I don't. Did you want to speak any further to your motion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ears of the chair are not in doubt on that one, and the ayes have it. So the minority report is hereby amended to remove the language in the agricultural sector. Now, because I understand for purposes of housekeeping, it is the maker of the motion's belief that that this would more appropriately amend a different section. I guess for purposes of compiling, with the consent of the minority, of the mover of the minority report, we could have a motion to have this amend a different section. Okay, so who? You consent? Okay, would you then state that motion? You would like this language to now be placed in what part of the platform?
Instead of Article 4, Section 5, as it was originally written, moving it to Article 12, Section 3, subsection D.
Okay.
That would fall under the labor.
Is there a second to that motion? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on that? I would hope not. It's purely housekeeping. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minority report is now amended to remove this reference to the agricultural section. The minority report appears in the agricultural plank and appears in the labor plank. Any further debate on the minority report? Chairman Rice.
Mr. Chairman, you know, something that we ought to be thinking about is the fact that immigration policy is determined at the federal level. In addition, right now, the birth rate in the United States is below that which is necessary to keep up with the growth in our economy as a result of President Trump's sound economic and foreign policy. And so what we've now got and are facing is a situation with a broken immigration policy where we don't enforce our border laws, where we have our opponents in the Democrat Party are blocking enforcement of our immigration laws, but they're also blocking any changes that allow legal immigration sufficient to meet the need. And so in Idaho, right, more job openings than we hanging jobs. That's a fact. That's a detriment. We would be far better off to be calling for fixing legal immigration policy and securing our borders than arguing over enhancing penalties on people who cannot find employees. That's something that we should really think about in regard to this minority report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Theodore Stevenson, Lewis County. I was a member of the platform committee and we discussed this plank at great length and it was defeated. And I urge that the body defeat this attempt at restoring that previously voted against platform. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further debate?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Charles, I'll let you get up to the microphone here. Yeah.
Mark Eberline, Kootenai County. So we've done a great job of identifying a problem, and that's we have migrant labor up here. But we didn't provide a solution to it. We all know the problems we have with illegal aliens coming into this country. A lot of Americans have bled out because of that. But we didn't provide a solution. When I was a kid, kids got out of school for a couple weeks at a time so we could go pick apples and get the harvest in. We haven't provided, why don't we add something to the proposal to provide a solution? Kids can work in the fields. Kids can drive tractors. Why don't we make it to where welfare recipients can go out and work in the fields? I'm not making a motion, I'm making a statement. Somebody else can do it.
I was looking for that. I moved that language and I didn't hear it. So. Delegate Barkov.
I definitely oppose this addition to the platform, mostly on the basis that the immigrants who come here legally and are working are actually the immigrants we want coming here to the United States. And because Democrats are blocking these immigrants who are hard workers, typically from Mexico, and typically very conservative with their Catholic heritage, these are the type of people we want here. And if we then deny their ability to work or enhance punishment for employers so that they cannot work, that's when they turn to crime. That's when we have problems with immigrants on citizen abuse and crime.
Yes, for further debate?
Yes, Don Bradway, Kootenai County. I think we have to go back to what Republicans stand for, and that is the rule of law. That's who we are. And we're not looking to try to keep people from working. What we're trying to do, we realize we have an issue in this country with illegal immigration. And that's part of the problem. They're not here legally. That makes them essentially criminals. And I think we've seen plenty of debate about that. So what we're talking about here is trying to encourage the enforcement of standing law so that we've got legally immigrated people, whether they be green cards or whatever it is, how they got here, did they do it legally? And if so, let's let them work. We should not be encouraging, through the lack of having this platform, having those who are here illegally working and have no retribution against those who would employ them. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the next delegate.
Natalie Fierstein, Ada County. I would just like to echo the gentleman's conversation there and his addition to the support of the body, that we are the party of enforcing law, that we do recognize that we are a country of laws, that we are a state of laws. We want people to be hardworking. We want people to embrace the Constitution and individual liberties, but we want them to enter this country legally. And we must stand for that, especially as we've seen the country and the way that the other side of our nation is embracing illegal entry into our country. We as Idaho need to stand for only legal entry, and we need to make that statement. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to recognize the delegate over here because I believe she was standing at the microphone first. So.
Bonnie Cameron, Benoit County. First of all, we need to take away the incentive for them to want to come here illegally. That will help a lot. Second of all, how many of your kids and grandkids are sitting at home playing video games right now when they could be out working? And third, let's just be honest, this is about cheap labor. We did have quite a discussion over this. My standpoint is, I am from Lewiston, Idaho, which is very close to Oregon. I have friends in the Hermiston area that are millennials, also like myself, and they're not able to find work because the people that are hiring the illegal immigrants would rather have the cheap workforce. We need to give our citizens a chance to set these jobs and not just slap the people that are giving the people jobs. A slap on the wrist, we need to show that our young people get jobs illegally.
Chair recognizes the senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Sidaway, Legislative District 35. I too sat on the platform committee, and I spoke in opposition of this plan. And you know, I understand the concern about hiring illegals, and I understand the concern that we are a nation of laws, and that we need to uphold and stand. But there's a pragmatic part to this, that we're going to have crops rotting in the field. We're going to have livestock that isn't being tended, and if those crops rot in the field, we're going to see the packing plants, that the transportation facilities, all of those that drive this. What we really need to focus on, instead of putting a negative plank in here like this of going after the employers, is we need to focus on how are we going to meet that demand? How are we going to get them here? Believe us, most of us that run a business and have tried to hire these kids that are sitting at home playing the Nintendo or watching TV, and they have all their family ties and obligations, and they're going to go on a vacation 2 weeks after they start their job, and they'll be gone for 2 weeks. It doesn't work. It just pragmatically does not work. we need some people to come into this country to help us harvest our crops, to do our business. And it's not just crops. I mean, let's face it, it's our restaurant, it's our hotels, it's our timber industry, it's the oil industry. We're just starting in the gas and oil industry in the western part of the state. There are all kinds of jobs that are tied to those that we need to help. We need to get the people in here to help us do that. So I urge you to vote no on this, but I further urge you to help pressure our legislature, pressure our congressmen, our senators to come up with a pragmatic approach that we can bring in the help that we need to get the jobs done that have to be done. So I urge your no vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair votes. A call for the question has occurred. Parliamentarians point out that when you want to call the question, you need to go to the microphone. I'm sorry about that. I'll let the delegate speak.
Jordan Handy in Kootenai County. You know, if your business model depends on illegal practices, I call that organized crime. And I think the party wants no part of that. Your first loyalty should be to your kids and your grandkids, no matter how many video games they play. If you want to make a resolution about kids should be better workers and play less video games, that's fine. But let's stop this organized crime.
I'm going to recognize the delegate here.
I'm Michael Armstrong from Bonneville County. I concur with the statement of that gentleman. I've been self-employed for over 30 years in that area and lived there a long, long time. The effort to justify hiring illegals is irrational. We are a country of laws. There are plenty of workforce out there willing to work. They just need to be given the opportunity. Those who want to capitalize on illegal workforce are primarily looking at their own interests, not the big picture.
Thank you. Delegate.
I'm Paul May from Custer County. So here again, I guess the answer to our question is let's punish the employer. Make him the scapegoat for the fact that our
that's a facile argument.
the aliens are coming into our country and our federal government hasn't resolved the problem. So let's punish the employer.
Okay, the chair recognizes the delegate at the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. Oh, sorry, Jesse Smith, Latah County. And I like this platform. I like this plank a lot. The only problem I have with it is the word enhancing. I think that enhancing is too broad of a word, and I looked it up. It means to intensify or increase, and really, that could mean anything. And I think because of that, that might be too broad. So I'm proposing an amendment to change the word enhancing to enforcing. So I agree that we are the party of rule of law. So I think our platform should show that we support the rule of law.
Okay, there's a motion pending to alter the word enhancing to enforcing. Is there a second on that motion? Second. It's been moved and seconded. The debate. Oh, yeah, thank you for stating your name and delegation. And I might ask the seconders, rather than express your vocal cords, you might even come to the microphones. Okay, the debate's going to change now, so we're no longer debating the minority report. We're debating an amendment to the minority report. Is there debate on that issue? Yes.
I would, Brian Merrill, Ada County, I would propose, or I don't think that this amendment nor the original is an enforceable plank. I work for a farmer. The employees are going to tell you whatever they're going to tell you. So there's no way to make the employer the enforcer of the law. I believe that the plank is written, it failed in committee. I believe it should fail here.
Okay. Further debate, are you supporting to the amendment?
No, I'm on,
Well, let's address the amendment first. Is there any further debate on the amended word in enhancement change to enforcement? Is there? Seeing no debate on that matter, all in favor of changing that word, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to changing that word?
Nay.
My ears have been better tuned from yesterday, and with the assistance of, by the way, the great parliamentarians and secretary, it appears that that motion failed. Okay, we're back to speaking to the minority report. I'll recognize.
I'm James Whitaker, Lemhi County, and I learned from my uncle a long time ago to make it easy to do it right. And it's what we're doing here is we're complicating things. And we've got a workforce out there that might be illegal in the agriculture industry, but some way we need to just come out, have a way to come out and make those that are industrious and contributing to our society and make them legal. We don't need further regulations out there to come out and put us out of business or to damage your food supply. We need a system which I think if it was put in place, we've got the people, or we can make the people available to go out and somehow make those that are contributing to society legal.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to recognize this delegate here. I do want to point out that I personally, I checked my bank account. I cannot afford to re-rent the Holt Arena, and we need to get through this. And so I would just encourage the delegates, consider well your comments. If you think you have something that has not been mentioned, please contribute. But if your point has already been made, let's move on to a vote on this as soon as we can.
I'm Bill Downs from Banning County, formerly from Bingham County. I lived right in the middle of a bunch of farmers and ranchers. I seen people that hired their high school kids, and I saw their crops take a beating. I was a manager at the Jiffy Lube in Blackfoot. My boss, the owner, says, "You've got nothing but Mexican workers." And I said, "Well, the white guys don't show up. And if they do show up, they quit because it's too hard, or I have to fire them because I had problems." So it's, this immigration thing is a two-edged sword. I do not want illegals here. But they're the ones doing the work. The parents of those Hispanic people, they came up to me and says, "If my kid screws up in any way, you let me know." And they would straighten them out. They fought hard to come here. So if we have a problem with this, then maybe we need to fight hard to get our kids to work. I even have to take responsibility with my grandkids. This is a cultural thing. I don't think we ought to be legislating it right now. I think we need to look at what our kids are. There's a workforce out there, but they don't show up to work.
Thank you.
My comment.
Delegate over here is recognized.
Corey Chapel, Canyon County. While I agree with a lot of you guys, this needs to go into further debate, discussion, and so forth, so I'm going to call the question.
Okay, questions?
Second.
Okay, that's right. Congressional District 1 goes this. Right. Okay, so we will split. You have ballots on either side. And so just the delegation chairs go pick up your ballots. The procedure for this vote will be, we'll vote by delegation. So each delegation, you'll inform your delegation chair of how your intended vote will be. Those will be recorded, and then the ushers will simply walk down the aisles and pick up the ballots. Mr. Chair, point of inquiry. Point of inquiry.
Matthew Jensen,
Here.
17.
Yes.
Could I I'm not sure what yay, opposed, and nay votes mean.
Okay, in this case, since the pending motion was the minority report, yay means adoption of the minority report. That means that the language expressing a need for enhanced penalties would be added to the platform. So I is in favor of penalties for hiring illegals. Nay is a vote against the minority report and would keep the platform that language.
Like, no, you're good, but we're like, we need you. Come back. Yeah.
Oh, right. So delegation, what needs to be on your ballot is a number and whether that applies to yays, and then a number and whether that applies to nays. Okay?
So yes or no?
Right. No, just for the minority report.
Yeah, Isaiah. I'm like, man, now he's not like a call me.
I know
I believe you know what I forgot? I forgot my little skip smizer. I have a skip smizer. Well, what did Nick Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I left the yeah, I don't know. I bought this Priscilla get it. 2 songs like 15, 20 bucks. I just well yeah, I just like reading Idaho. I just like Idaho. And the question when she's in the state house too.
So you need to go
I've read his blog.
I've never read it.
Too much, let's just say that. And it's been scrubbed too, because there was on that blog, and then he ran for Congress, and then he scrubbed all the anti-mom stuff. And it was funny too, because he was asked that, or someone asked his wife, so they're like, hey, we've heard that your husband made some anti-woman comments on his.
Are you talking about Michael Snyder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just ignored it because.
Yeah. Well, see, you kind of remember somebody who blames losing his congressional campaign upon outside money and Mormons. You remember that kind of thing.
You remember them.
Mormons totally made him lost his race.
We don't have officers to pick up your votes in here, so if you would turn your votes into
No,
I was going to tell you.
I thought it was funny. Like, that's literally what he said. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
hold your votes up or your papers up, and we do have someone down there come out. So.
Oh, good. I'll talk to you about
I'd like to call for regular order within the conference hall. If you are standing there.
Counter motion, Bob?
There shall be a reason that you are standing. If you are a delegation chair and you have a voted ballot for your delegation,
there actually might be
ballot
a
should
couple
be
of
in
Robert's
your
Rules
hand,
things
your
in there.
hand should be up in the air so that the ushers can come by and pick it up. Okay. Yes, now, admittedly, I'm not sure we saved a lot of time just immediately with that, but that was kind of known that the first time doing this, we'd have a little difficulty. Hopefully the second time, it becomes second nature for us, and we just quickly have these slips move into the center aisle and we pick them up.
Hey,
Okay.
I did. All my stuff. Yes,
There was a
I did.
question that was asked offline, outside the normal procedure of the conference, as to what the procedure would be if this report is either adopted or rejected. The answer is that if it's either way, if it's adopted, it becomes part of the report. If it's rejected, then we have the committee report without that amendment pending in front of us, and we then start where we were about an hour ago with the committee report in front of us. I would point out that, again, I checked my bank account. Additional rental of the Holt Arena is still not in there. And so it would probably be appropriate at some point in time for us to consider a path forward that stays within our means.
Mr. Chairman.
I'd ask unanimous consent to proceed outside the regular order while the vote is being tabulated so that we can conduct what interim business we need to do. Do I hear objection to that? Hearing no objection, I will recognize Clint.
Can't hear him. Can't hear.
The motion is to limit the further debate on the committee report, either amended or not amended, to 20 minutes. I do want to just ask, do we have someone in the hall who controls the volume on the audience speakers? We're hearing that we need to raise the volume on the floor speakers. Okay, it appears that
Just talk into the mic, he said.
Yeah, and so on these particular mics, just directly into it, is that the best way to do it? Okay. Do you all understand that apparently it's a directional mic? And so talking straight, and I understand on this one it's better to talk into the side, but on those on the floor, talk straight into it. Okay? Kiss the mic.
Mr. Chairman.
Is my motion on? So having addressed that issue, the motion is for a time agreement of 20 minutes on the platform committee report. Is that correct? Do I hear a second to that?
Second. John Jensen, Bonneville County.
Okay, John has seconded that. So the motion is to have a time agreement for 20 minutes of debate in total for the remainder of the platform committee report. To explain what that means is we'll have opportunity for debate, but any motion that is pending at the time that the 20 minutes expires fails automatically, because we then go to an immediate vote on the platform as it stands, whether it's been amended or not, at that point in time. Okay? Is there any debate on the time agreement?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend the time to 10 minutes for the platform. We
Okay.
can't stay here all day.
There's a motion to amend to 10 minutes. Do I hear a second? Name and county, please.
John Jensen, Bonneville County.
Do I hear a second to the 10-minute? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on that?
Mr. Chairman, I think that 10 minutes is adequate time. We've got a lot of smart people here. I think we can make up our mind and move forward with the meeting.
Any further discussion or debate? Do you want to comment?
Woody Farnham, Belmar County delegation.
Yes, ma'am.
My comment would be,
that if we've agreed to split the platform, that we would need to vote on each section, and my recommendation would be to have 10 minutes per section. Discussion.
No.
Well, let's see, I think that would put us an amendment in the third degree, so, yeah, we can't do that at this point. Sorry. Okay, appreciate your debate.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I believe that a motion to limit debate is non-debatable and non-amendable. I could be wrong. I would defer to the parliamentarian.
Okay. So, yes, Representative, you would be correct if the motion were to limit debate, but the motion is to, in fact, to have debate, but with a time agreement. Any further discussion? Okay, the question is actually on the amended amendment, the amended time agreement of 10 minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? In the eyes of the chair, the ayes have that, so the motion of a time agreement is amended now down to only 10 minutes of debate on the remainder of the platform. Is there debate on the motion for a time agreement as amended? Seeing, unless are you coming forward for, okay. All in favor of a 10-minute time agreement, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Again, in the eyes of the chair, that motion has now passed. And as soon as the vote on the committee report has been announced, we will have then an agreement that we will debate the remaining committee report for a total of 10 minutes. During that time, motions to amend can occur. We can even have motions to divide, but that is, by the way, very dangerous because we run the risk of losing entire sections of our platform if we divide and then are unable to, within the 10 minutes, go back and deal with each of those divisions. I'm just warning you. A time agreement has consequences. Okay? Well, so that we're using our time wisely. I'm going to ask the co-chairs of the platform committee to come forward. If some of you have questions about what was done in the platform committee, we have an additional opportunity for them to entertain some questions if they'd be willing to do that. So if you have a question for the platform chairs, please come forward to a microphone. None of this is in the time agreement, by the way. The time agreement will start when the vote is announced.
Wait a minute.
Please, well, we're actually, we do now have a, okay. I would encourage you, I know their names, addresses, and even their emails, so I can provide that if you'd like to ask them. We do have a tally. For that vote, the ayes were 173, the nays were 264, the minority report has failed. We are now on the majority report. Is there further debate and discussion on the majority report? The chair recognizes Delegate Beck.
Well, this is a discussion on the report. This
Yeah.
is a discussion on the report. I have a question about this whole process. You said to come forward, we've got questions for the committee. It seems as though we're debating, talking about amendments to the platform. Is this a platform that we are going to later adopt, or are we to presuppose that the platform is adopted and we're making amendments to it?
The pending motion, Delegate Beck, is a motion to approve the committee report. An attempt was made to file a minority report. It failed, so we're now on the platform as reported by the committee.
But the platform that we're looking at is merely amendments. Are we to suppose that the entire platform has already been adopted and we're just amending it?
What is before the body is the previously existing platform with some amendments as recommended by the platform committee.
That's clarification, thank you.
Yeah. Am I correct on that, co-chair? Okay. Is there any further debate?
So,
Mr. Chairman,
It'll
from
do that.
Ada County, so we are debating to approve the committee report. Point of clarification.
Actually, the committee report is the previously existing platform amended, and then the specific amendments are listed in the report, okay? So that's what is before the body. That is what, at the end of this debate, we'll have an yea or nay vote. Yeas will be to adopt the previously existing these amendments. A nay vote would be to not adopt that platform, in which case we would not have a platform.
Correct. So, Mr. Chairman, point of inquiry. So then, may I debate on the proposed platform claims?
That's the current standing order of business, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I be recognized?
You may be recognized. Please state your name and delegation.
Mr. Chairman, Dom Gelsomino from Ada County. Mr. Chairman, members of this committee, I rise to you today as a Christian, as a fellow conservative, and as Idaho's first openly gay Republican to run for office. Now, I understand we did not make a motion to divide these platform planks, but there are two in particular that I stand fervently against. And I rise in opposition to these proposed planks because it's not that I don't believe in the sanctity of the institution of marriage, but it's because that I believe that government has no authority whatsoever to be involved in a matter which was not delegated to it by the Constitution. Let me reiterate something. As I mentioned before, I'm a Christian. I go to church every Sunday with my wonderful mother, and I sit and listen to our pastor. His message from God's Word is not one of hate and exclusion, rather one of love, compassion, and respect towards one another. Scripture tells us in John 15:12 that this is my commandment, that you love one another as I, the Lord God, have loved you. God loves all his children unconditionally, and I have been taught always that that is what I should believe. So what gives us any authority? Which gives the government any authority to say otherwise? This sacred text, right here, was given to us by God himself, not to be used as a weapon against one another. Rather, it was granted to us as a tool to extend God's unconditional love for one another across the globe to all peoples and all nations. Unconditional, without condition or judgment. Mr. Chairman, members of this convention, the language in these proposed platform planks, particularly several on the back, 17 through 18 and 19, the language in these proposed platform planks that their author wrote, and I quote from him from yesterday's committee, as a response that were written in response to the Obergefell and Hodges ruling by the Supreme Court of the United States. It is my belief does not represent who we are as Christians and as conservatives. Mr. Chairman, not long ago, the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, the party of Goldwater, and the party of Ronald Reagan believed in the principles of limiting government as a counterbalance to the Democratic Party's belief in expanding the power of the federal government and of government all scopes of life. We believed in empowering individual liberties and individual rights, yet somewhere along the way, we diverged into a different path of expanding the power of government into certain matters that did not encroach upon our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So how does that make us any different from our colleagues on the Democratic side? Our party's founders and leaders believed in limiting government's powers across the board, not cherry-picking issues here and there where we should and should not expand the powers of government. Barry Goldwater once said, the conservative movement to which I subscribe has as one of its basic tenets the belief that government should stay out of people's business and private lives. Government governs best when it governs least, and stays out of the impossible task of legislating morality.
But legislating someone else's version of morality is exactly what we do by perpetuating discrimination against those who are different from us. In the 2014 Gallup polls, 21% of LGBT Americans identified as conservative or Republican. Yet many hesitate to be involved or engaged because they do not feel welcome within our folds. And it is because of language such as this in our party's platform. In 2016, President Trump, which a majority of this body, of our body, supports, was the first Republican nominee to include members of the LGBT community in his acceptance speech, going so far as saying he would do everything in his power to protect our LGBTQ citizens. Permitting couples to marry when they are of the same gender is a step, and removing the government from the business of marriage is a step in the direction of equality before the law under the 14th Amendment, a principle which we as conservatives have believed since our founding, and a principle which allowed us to pass the 13th and 14th Amendment under President Lincoln, and I promise I am wrapping this up.
That's okay.
Through our majorities in the 66th Congress, we forced the hand of Democratic President Woodrow Wilson past the 19th Amendment and guaranteed women the right to vote. Under Republican President Calvin Coolidge, we extended full citizenship rights and rights to Native Americans in desegregated schools under President Eisenhower. It is this principle that has allowed us to live in a nation where those of us of different races and creeds can marry. I'm on my final word, Mr. Chairman.
I'll give, please wrap up your comment.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, fellow Christians, conservatives with humility, friendship, and a heart that yearns for a better future, and a world for my generation and future generations to come, I urge you to vote down these platform planks. I believe in a nation where freedom and liberty are allowed to flourish as the one that will last far beyond the ancient empires.
Thank you for your comment. This is not the party that tosses someone out of a restaurant, okay?
Bravo.
We are the party that listens to all points of view so that we can be right, okay? The next element.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Herman, Bonner County, due to the time constraints that we've placed on ourselves, I'd like to call the question.
Okay, the question has been called.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order or an inquiry.
Mr.
A moment ago,
I have not recognized you yet, Mr. Lopes.
You actually did. You said Mr. Lopes.
Oh,
a moment ago, the chair said that if we reject the majority report, that we have no platform. Isn't it true that if we reject the majority report, we have the platform we came into the convention with?
No.
We came into this convention with a platform. The platform committee met to amend
no,
that.
that's a good one. Okay, you meant to say if we reject the committee report.
Yes.
Okay, not the minority report.
But I thought it said the majority report, but that's what I meant.
Well, no, if we reject, okay, I need to call on the chair, and I'm relying now upon about 35 years of working in party politics. A platform is just that. It is what we stand upon in a particular election. There has been this view that there are perennial documents that exist forever. That would be a new idea, because always in the past, platforms have had dates on them. They have been the platform of the party for the 2000 election, the platform of the party for the 2004 election. So it's been my understanding that platforms exist in the context of what we're running on this year, okay? And if we fail, we don't just pick some election in the past and say, well, we'll run on that platform.
Point of order?
Yeah.
10 minutes expired.
Actually, I have not included that in the time agreement. The motion was for 10 minutes of debate. That was a parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah, I think this is an important thing for everyone to know. And when we went into the platform committee, and those who were chairman of the platform committee, and until I wasn't, I was one of the co-chairmen, we were told that the platform we had, that we adopted, I think in Twin Falls, was still the platform of the party, even though it wasn't adopted again the last convention. And that if we failed to amend the platform, which means if the majority report were to fail, then we would still have the platform we had before. And if that's not the case, that's pretty important for people to know.
Okay, so to be clear, the platform that was adopted in Twin Falls doesn't disappear. We would still list it as, it is currently listed on the state party website as the platform adopted by the party in 2012.
So if the majority
It would not
report
become
fails,
the platform adopted by the party in 2018.
if the majority report fails, what platform, if any, do we have?
We would have we would actually have all the ones that are out there, including the ones that are registered with the Ada County Clerk. We would have the ones that are listed on our platform, but I would point out they're all dated. Okay. Okay, we'll begin debate. And I have 2 minutes and 59 seconds left. Oh, so the motion was a call for the question. It was seconded. Is there, right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, the question is called. We'll now vote on adoption of the committee report for the platform. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, in the eyes of the chair, the motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just to extend Mr. Loeb's inquiry, the platform you just voted on will now be dated the Republican Party platform adopted at convention in 2018.
Thank you, Chairman Vick and Chairman Brown and Chairman Clark. I like that. As I mentioned earlier, I believe debate is a good thing. I believe in us being the party of ideas, and so thank you for your stability in that, and thanks for the healthy debate. Before we get to our resolutions committee report, we're going to do a few quick reports, starting with Kitty Koontz, president of the Idaho Federation of Republican Women, to give an update on the Republican women. And just a little hat tip to Kitty. In 2010, she and I worked together on the Idaho Falls Bonneville County Convention, and which went off very well, and something I will forever be grateful for her hard work, including when our printer broke at something like 1 a.m. and we had to have pamphlets ready for the next morning. Kitty went to Kinko's in Pocatello, stayed up all night to ensure that everything was printed off, and she did. And so I'm always grateful for that. So, Kitty.
Okay, my report is not long, but first I'm going to start off. There was some silent auction items out here that we had brought, and there were bids on it. There were 3 baskets there. I'm going to announce the winners, and those that have won, one of them, the wine basket, they already know who that is, and she's paid for it, and so that's hers. The other 2, I will. And then you can take your baskets. Okay, the U.S. President basket with the picture. That one is Barry Finley. Okay, and the Idaho basket went to Linda Wayhall for $50. So if you'll meet me over here as soon as you can, and we can take care of that. Okay. And thank you for letting us remain affiliates and voting members of this committee. We held our spring meeting in March, and I announced it was coming up in January. We had a great turnout. We did it March 12th and 13th. There was time for workshops, for them to visit the House and Senate, for them to visit committees, to meet with the governor and have pictures in his office. We had a lunch sponsored by the Ada County Republican Women and one sponsored by Canyon County Republican Women. And we had an evening event where we brought in Nick Adams, who is with Foundation